I'd say it's probably like for real use cases is probably a top complaint. And there's others, there's professors who require usage. There's other companies who actively buy ChatGPT subscriptions for every single employee. So there's a very wide range of opinions, and that's completely fine. You have to decide, as with any new technology, you have to decide how comfortable you are with it and what the safe boundaries are. I will say, like, there are companies that are emerging that will give you the privacy guarantees that you want. It's obviously very important for the Europeans and anyone working in healthcare, defense, anything like that. Don't count it out, because there are options out there. If you use it as an excuse not to explore, that's where I'm like a little bit against it, because it's not like people aren't running into these, you're not alone in running into these issues. People have actually worked on solving them. They're out there and they're looking for you too. So work won't let me. I think it is a barrier, but also if you really want it enough, there are people out there who will give you like a LLM inside of a Docker container that you can run inside of your own environment that is fully controlled by you, right? So SourceGraph is doing that. Codium is another podcast guest that I've had on is doing that. There's a bunch of people.
Enterprise-friendly AI. Hell yeah,
exactly.
Of course they are.
Oh,
yeah, they want to charge you $200 a head or whatever they do.
That seems like, I don't know, the way to do it. Just sort of a clean room. Like, hey, don't go tell the world about this one.
Well, yeah. So then the question is, obviously this gets into a whole privacy debate, which we have no expertise over. But how unique is your code?
Right. Well, just getting into like customer data, or like how, not like, I talked to a friend who works at Salesforce. It's like knowing customers isn't like cool, exciting, but like knowing customers who are about to peace out is maybe interesting, and maybe somewhere where AI can like do that. But I don't want to just send a list of my customers to openai.com,
For sure.
Like that would, so like a clean room for that would be kind of cool. But
yeah, you even got to adjust your understanding of what's even happening, right? Like you're probably not what data is going back to them?
True. Yeah. Like
I don't even know. Like some.
Everything in the prompts.
Yeah, but you don't see the prompts,
Exactly. Yeah, OpenAI has promised that they do not from that API. You just have to take them at their word. But also, like I would just say I think they don't care. So
probably, but you almost wish that they would, right? Like in my mind, I kind of, not all the time, but I would, like as I'm coding, in my mind I'm like, ooh, this thing's getting smarter as I code because it's learning my code base better. But it's not really.
No, it's a static model that, and they guard their training data sets very closely. So I mean, there's many solutions out there. Keep an eye open. OpenAI is not the only story in town. And if you have privacy concerns, that's one issue. But there's many other problems that people deal with in applying AI, and it's not just code generation. By the way, there's many modalities is the word that people use to describe this. So a modality would be like text generation, a modality would be audio generation, a modality would be code generation, and all these modalities offer different and unique challenges, and also opportunities.
Well, that was kind of like where I wanted to go next. Like as a web developer who wants to leverage some AI, what modalities are like what should I be looking to do, and like kind of what's possible, and what do you think people aren't doing? I have some scenarios if you're interested, but like
Sure.
Like, can I just send like two pieces of JSON and say, hey, what's good?
Yes.
Or like, what's bad about this? Or what happened? And it can like generate stuff. Is that sort of like something that can do?
Yeah. Comparing JSON, charting a code base, very, very fun. Take any code base, whatever, anything that's open source, and throw it in there, ask it to draw a diagram, and it's really good at that.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I do it all the time. It's fantastic.
It's because it understands like imports, or AI's no ESM?
It just understands the structure of code, right? And that's inherently easy to graph. And you have to just kind of hint it,
Yeah.
So like, color this box, or like, give it some kind of legend, but it does all the things. By the way, Code Interpreter is a mode of ChatGPT that you can pay for, $20 a month, that gives you a sandbox to execute the code in and actually do charting as well. So I would, if you're doing anything like visual, anything data analysis, you can upload the CSV and ask it to analyze the CSV. Anything like that, use Code Interpreter, which is a special mode inside of ChatGPT that if you're not close to the story, you maybe haven't tried out. It is the best thing since sliced bread. I will vouch for it.
It's a way of flagging it and saying, what I'm about to send you is code, so you should know that.
No. What I'm about to send you is data, and please write code to analyze this data. And sometimes that data is in the form of code. But so coming back to the modality question, so I'll just map out the rough sequence, right? First, learn how to interact with the GPT-3 API and prompt it. Second, learn about prompt tooling, the retrieval augmented generation stuff we already talked about. Third, learn about code generation. Fourth, image generation. Fifth, speech to text, so that's kind of audio, and then you can also go the other way, text to speech, and that's really fun. I've had a phone call with an AI, and you can go back and forth. There's this amazing company, vocode.dev, and the latencies are so good, and you can have a conversation with these things. It's amazing. So they do speech to text and text to speech, and then obviously text to text in between to generate all these conversations. It's amazing. And then number 6 is fine tuning and running open source models, because everyone cares about that. And then last is dabbling in agents. So that's kind of like the sort of 7-day sequence I kind of mapped out there.
Interesting.
Don't you have is that a time to plug your course? Don't you have something what that course takes the shape of?
Yeah. Well, I just think like this is how I would introduce it to my friends. Like, hey, if you don't have that much time, here's the main things you need to know exist, because these are all like extremely good, well proven out, available to everybody, and you are just choosing to ignore them. So yeah, that's the email course I'm working on at Latent Space. And to me, it's a free course. I'm not going to make money off of it. I just think like everyone asks me for like, where do I start? And like, this is my like one answer. Because yeah.
And is that for somebody who's so you're advocating for this term AI engineer? I think you're gonna win that battle probably. It just rolls off the tongue pretty nicely. But also, does it mean I have to be that, or can I be both? Can I just still be a web developer and also just take all these and just be both, or like, is it pay to specialize or whatever?
No, absolutely not. Obviously everything's a spectrum, and you can assume multiple hats in your life. I just think this is someone needs to lay out the syllabus or like map out the field as much as it's established, and this is like my high confidence map of things that I know to be valuable and doable, and you should know. There's a lot more experimental things that I'm like not sure about that I'm not going to put in there. But the stuff that I can make mandatory here is like stuff that you should know. And I think everyone needs that approach in terms of learning anything. Like, what is a core set of skills that everybody like must know, even if you're like not dabbling in it day to day professionally.
I see. It's one of these like you should learn a little HTML first, and then you should learn the box model, and then you should learn enough JavaScript to hit an API to do a click handler or whatever. It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I'll mention like this intersection. You're asking me about this intersection between AI engineer and software engineer. I've actually started pulling in some of our front-end friends. I think you might be familiar with Amelia Wattenberger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's been spending the past couple years at GitHub on Copilot, and she's been doing some really interesting demos on the side. And I actually organized the first AI UX meetup in SF, and I think there's a huge amount of potential for front-end engineers in particular to embrace AI, because the capabilities are there. There's actually not that much of a heavy backend component. It's really about making it accessible to the end user and creating new human interfaces to interface with the models.
Right. She had her and both